but it's the business side of football that people just don't like, and it's just it sours everyone's kind of milk. So
greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and with me today, it's fall, it's football season, so we've got our football cavalcade of stars, starting with Captain for Life, Will Cotton. Will, how you doing today?
doing great. I'm drafting right now, so double duty. Let's go.
Good stuff. We have the unofficial benefactor of the Odd Coaches Podcast, the CKA Save Project, Brian Bobian. Brian, it's always good to see you, and that's a shoot, buddy.
I'm in a different place than Will. I drafted last night, so I'm already bitter at my roster.
And fans, I can't call him the newest member of the CKA family anymore because they've been married a while. So our favorite political consultant is here, Merv Jones. Merv, is that safe to say, or did I break some Sector 7G thing?
Oh, no, it's all good. Thanks for having me back. This is always fun to talk about pro football and, do it for a great cause.
All right. So on today's Top Shelf Tuesday edition, we're going to spend segment 1 and 2 talking about quarterback development. And then in segment 3, we'll talk about which teams may surprise this season. But first, let's talk about developing quarterbacks and Trey Lance. Roughly 2.5 years ago, the San Francisco 49ers, hey, following, drafted Trey Lance to be their franchise quarterback. And now, 2.5 years later, he's no longer on the San Francisco 49ers. He is on the Dallas Cowboys, who traded him for some magic beans and a 4th-round draft pick. So how did we get here? The Niners originally used the number 3 pick on Lance in the 2021 draft after trading, wait for it, 3 first-round picks and a 3rd-round pick to the Miami Dolphins to acquire him. San Francisco originally planned to play Lance in a limited role behind starter Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy G was the starter as a rookie, but he broke his right index finger. And all told, Trey Lance started 4 games and appeared in 8 contests in his 2 seasons. And now we're here. So, Brian, I'm going to let you start off. But before I do, John Lynch, the general manager, had tears in his eye. He was fighting back emotion, talking about his love for Trey Lance and that sometimes things happen. So before I get to Merv and before I get to Will, let my voice of reason tell me what the heck happened with this, because you're going through it right now with Sam Howell, and see if they let him play. Brian, the floor is yours.
I mean, he was going to be the starter last year until a broken ankle. I'm not sure what they saw in Brock Purdy with a supremely talented offense last year that gave them any indication that Purdy was more ready than Lance now that he's healthy. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me unless there was just so much friction between Lance and the quarterback staff, which it doesn't seem like there was, because everybody loves the guy. So I'm not really sure why they soured on him so quickly, other than Brock Purdy's a nice story, being Mr. Irrelevant and being able to lead the team. But I mean, you could put me under center for San Francisco and I'd probably be okay, given the fact that they have just an amazing offense. So it doesn't make sense to me. I question it. And I mean, if you look at what they got for Trey Lance, it's not that much different than what Cleveland ended up with for whatever the heck that guy was that they just traded.
Yes, and their quarterback room is only $20 million for this season with all 3 of them. Will, tell me about Bigfoot, and then I'm going to pass it off to Merv.
Well, I think San Francisco was looking at the window that they were trying to win. I mean, they're trying to get into and win this championship, and I don't think Trey Lance is on the same trajectory as the team. I think they're ready to run. I think they're ready to win now. I think he's not ready to be the quarterback yet for another 2 years. And, they had to make a business decision. Um, it's unfortunate, but the best thing is he's going to get a chance with another team. He's going to play. People always pick him up because he's young enough. But it's the business side of football that people just don't like. And it's just it sours everyone's kind of milk. So
All right, Merv, the floor is yours, my friend. Thoughts on Trey Lance?
I think he and his team his team did him a disservice. Instead of trying to rush him out of college, they should have just put him in the transfer portal during that COVID year and put him in around some real competition. The 49ers did right by him in my mind. Like it was a friendly offense where he could be mobile. You've seen that zone run with small athletic offensive linemen and one big tackle to anchor it down, where you can run it, RPO it, and you can be mobile and agile, a la John Elway. And I'll take it back because it's basically the same offense his dad was running with a few new wrinkles in it. I think they traded him not because they were quarterback heavy. I don't even know why they got Sam Darnold, but that's beyond me. But they have cap issues. They got to pay Nick Bosa. And without their offense being what it is, their defense is what makes them look even better. That defense the 49ers have is front seven heavy. You could have anybody playing in the secondary with that front seven. And so that was the business decision that I saw coming from that end. Like, all right, we got to free up some cap space, and now we got to pay Nick Bosa Aaron Donald money because he's worth it.
Now, Merv, I got to ask you, though, in terms of Trey Lance's team, no matter what, they got him number 3 pick money, and that's generational talent of 2 halves and a bag of chips.
Right.
So my question is, and I'm going to go with Brian for this, Dallas picked him up. I've been hearing talking heads, and my buddy Butch, my high school teammate, said, he's just another guy. He's a Jag. So stop it with the Dak slander. Dak has nothing to worry about. Dak's got his own contract issues. How do you feel about Dallas being the one to pick up Trey Lance? Brian, I'll start with you because you're an NFC East guy.
I mean, Dak's good for one pretty significant injury a year, it seems like. So if Dallas believes that Lance can step in and run their offense, then that's great. But I think he's still going to be, he's going to be the number 3, I think, even in Dallas. So I don't know that it made much sense. But if all you have to give up is a 4th for potentially the guy who can replace Dak when he's done, and he doesn't have to be rushed in, he can do exactly what Will has said and wait a couple of years before he's the guy, if that's the problem. So, it makes sense for Dallas if they believe that he just needs that seasoning piece.
All right, so Cotton Man, Dallas did a solid for their player on the way out. Talk to him about Will Grier, and did you like what Dallas did for him? What do you think, sir?
It's a business. Obviously we got to think about that first. I think Will Grier can ball. I liked him at Florida. I liked him at West Virginia. I think he's a good backup. I think that guy is going to be a career backup kind of guy. I think he'll latch on. I think he'll latch on with another team. It's a quarterback thirsty kind of league. So, if you've ever had a drink or a cup of coffee or anything, they'll call anybody at any time. So, he was a tough kid. He's a little short, but that was about it. But I don't think it's not like they lost out like the second, like Michael Vick or anybody. But it's just, he's a good kid, and he'll get another chance hopefully.
Okay, so Merv, I'm gonna have you close out this segment. I want your thoughts on talent development because you've played college football, you got scouting departments, and that's their job. But there has to be some type of an alignment between all of the departments for the coaching and teaching standpoint. So, in terms of wrapping the Trey Lance thing in a bow, how was there such a misalignment between all departments to get to this point?
I think the fumble that happened in the front office and the coaching staff was they wanted to get rid of Jimmy Garoppolo because he was injury prone. They thought, all right, we can plug and play this guy. And you have to look at the numbers and say, how many quarterbacks, rookie quarterbacks, are successful starting their first year? And I think the number is around like 5% if I'm lucky. And so to make that big of a gamble and trade as much or weigh as much as you did for this kid and not use him, it shows that you need to keep him for 2 or 3 years and, and hope that you can sustain the talent that you have around the quarterback position. The only aging person that they had on their offense really was Debo. Everybody else is pretty much younger, but Debo is a big cornerstone receiver / running back. So they just wanted to build around that. And then, of course, with contracts and stuff being as it is, you got to strike while the iron's hot. But now I feel like they're in a decent space because they have their typical, hey, I can extend the pocket, but I'm not going to break a run for 20, 30 yards quarterback. And that's all they need for that offense.
Okay. So, fans, in segment 2, we're going to talk about some of the other quarterback situations around the league. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches podcast.
Why should student athletes use the CKA Save Project academic and athletic consulting services? Over the past 15 to 20 years, colleges, universities, professional sports teams, business organizations, and others have increased their use of consulting services to improve their decision-making processes and results. Over the same time, the athletic and academic landscape has changed for high school and college student athletes as the NCAA has raised initial academic eligibility requirements for student athletes while decreasing the number of transfer restrictions. Former college student athletes have noted that they were academic and athletically unprepared for the rigors of college. Let the CKA Save Project's close to 30 years of academic and athletic experience help guide student athletes to increase success as we work to help student athletes achieve the goal of obtaining a college degree. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches podcast. In segment 2, as we talk about quarterback development, let's talk about Kenny Pickett and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback Kenny Pickett looks like he is improving as he enters his second season. Not only is he playing better in the preseason, but head coach Mike Tomlin says that the 25-year-old is making strides off the field and in the locker room. And the fact that he's in his second year and he's 25 kind of lets you know about college and the transfer portal. Merv, you are our AFC North guy. What are you thinking about how the Steelers are developing Kenny Pickett?
I think they did it the right way. They had some good wide receiver picks. Of course, you have Pickens, who is an all-world beater. But then they actually took some time and developed their offensive line. And even on the back end, when I always harp back to this, is that their defense is actually really good now. Remember when Pittsburgh used to have decades of having horrible corners and safeties, or they'll have safeties but no corners? Now they have a complete defense, and you have a running game to go along with it, and you have a stronger offensive line, and they are somebody to not be trifled with this year.
Okay, so Will, I want you to take Tennessee for me. The Tennessee Titans, their quarterback situation is muddy. You have Ryan Tannehill as a starter. You have Will Levis as a draft pick this year. You have Malik Willis as the draft pick last year. Malik Willis has gotten better. Ryan Tannehill looks like he's the starter. What are you doing in Tennessee in terms of quarterback development? Tell me your thoughts.
It's just it's muddled water. Now they don't really know where the direction they want to go. If I don't really understand like the development of the quarterback room or what's going on. I mean, if Malik Willis is playing better, why wouldn't you use Will Levis pick for like a left tackle or center, something, something else, or even trade it or get something like that. It just seems like nobody knows what it wants to be. It seems like there's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, and everybody gets a chance to spin the wheel. So it's tough. It's tough, you know what I'm saying? Because we really can't get who have a real evaluation is because, nobody's going to get enough time. Obviously, Tannehill's on the way out. He is who he is. He's not going to like improve. He's not going to, he's not going to become like an MVP kind of player. But I don't think they really know. And until they figure out where they want to go, what they want to be, who they want to lead this team as a quarterback, they're always going to be kind of like a wishy-washy kind of team with a bunch of question marks.
All right. So, Brian, you get the pleasure of talking about Arizona. The Arizona Cardinals traded Josh Dobbs, that's the guy, in a deal with the Cleveland Browns. The Browns get a 5th-round draft pick, and Arizona gets Josh Dobbs to help compete with your former Redskin / Commander / whatever. What was Colt McCoy? And Kyler Murray is still recovering from a knee injury. What are you doing in Arizona, sir? How are you developing your quarterback room?
I'm starting over. I think like that. I mean, they paid Kyler Murray a ridiculous amount of money.
Call of Duty.
And I mean, good for him. Maybe the Athletics still have his rights, and he can go back and play in the outfield when he's done here, because I don't think he's going to make it through this contract. I think they're going to have the number 1 draft pick in next year's draft, and I think they're going to pick a quarterback, and that will mean that Kyler's done in Arizona. I don't know how long he's out this season. Colt McCoy is one of those career backup guys who is serviceable for a week or two, but you don't want him to be the starter. And Dobbs is going to have to come in the week before the first week of the season, learning a brand new playbook. And I mean, if it's not the worst quarterback situation right now in the league, it's close. It's just a mess.
So now I'm going to come back to you, Merv, to close the segment. CJ Stroud has not yet, as of this taping, been named the quarterback of the Houston Texans, but he's the quarterback of the Houston Texans. Davis Mills actually came on strong, and our good friend Robert, our show correspondent, says the kid's not bad. How are you handling the Houston situation, sir?
Their team surprised us with a few wins that they had last year, but they need to sit him and develop that offensive line. You don't want to hurt him because he's not what's his name in North Carolina, who's built like a twig but has a cannon of an arm. And so you need to build a team around him, let him get his feet wet into the leadership role, and go from there, because there's not much around him that's going to save him. The tight end isn't really that good. The left tackle, his blind side, I think his rating, and I'm going to the Madden, I think his rating is like a 70. And he's been in the league for like 12 years. So, no, you need somebody who can actually protect his back, because he can move and protect himself from the front. But there's nothing there right there for him to fight for. There's no playoff spot to fight for in Houston right now.
You really made fun of Bryce Young. I didn't think you'd be the one to make fun of Bryce.
Hey, I'm still holding that grudge. Ohio State still beat Alabama one time, a long time ago. So I still say roll tears roll every time I see Terry Sewell in the halls of Congress.
And with that, we will slowly back out of this segment. In segment 3, our focus is going to be about things strictly for entertainment purposes only. And we'll talk about who's going to surprise us this year on the iCoaches podcast.
The reviews are in for Dr. Keith Adams' book, Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. College professor and student-athlete academic expert Dr. Lisa Rubin said, "There is nothing out there like this book, so I do hope people will pay attention and give it a read." Former George Mason standout Fallon Campbell said, "Consider this book an opportunity to work directly with Dr. Adams, just like I did. I assure you that there will be something you can take away that will be useful to you throughout your personal journey." Ryan Waite, a recent college graduate who is a software engineer, said, "I like how the book is based on research, which makes it good for general students as well as student athletes." The book serves as both a memoir to Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic career, as well as an instructional guide to assist student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators navigate through the challenges of finding a better balance between academic and athletic success. The book includes over 15 personal stories and anecdotes from Dr. Adams, along with numerous former players and colleagues from a variety of sports and endeavors. You can order your copy at www.ckasaveproject.org. From the main page, simply click CKA Save Project Services and order the Find the Balance book. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast. In segment 3, we'll start off talking about things strictly for entertainment purposes only. Will had a chance to hear this last week. I got guys here this week. The OTP preseason NFL top 5. I have Kansas City at 1. I have Philadelphia at 2. I have Dallas at 3. Shout out to my brother Rick. Buffalo at 4 and Detroit at 5. On the outside looking in, I have San Francisco and my surprise team, Jacksonville, because the AFC South is hot garbage. Brian, what do you think of my top 5, sir?
I mean, I don't think my face looked quite like Merv's when you mentioned Dallas at 3, but I felt that in my soul. I'm not real sure they're gonna be that high. But you know what? They're your rankings. You can put whoever you want wherever you want.
Yeah. Merv, agree or disagree, sir?
I would replace Dallas with the Saints.
The Saints?
Okay.
The level of pause for those on the radio, we're all here.
I know.
We're
This
just
is what
talking about
value
the
here.
Saints.
The Saints have defense. They have a running game. The quarterback is suspect. We know that because Derek Carr is suspect, but he looks better. I feel like they have a sleeper's chance and better than Dallas.
Okay.
Because Dallas is going down.
Dallas is good. I'm about tired of all of my show folks talking about Dallas like that. And I'm not even a Dallas mark, but I got my point guard talking about Dallas. Franchise, you're going to have to change the schedule or something because you're going to have to save the team. All right, Will, you told me last week to put San Francisco in there, and then Merv says New Orleans. So you're going to yell at him like he
I mean, if anyone, I would take out Dallas and add like Cincinnati. I don't know why like no one's gonna have them there. I mean,
he got an injury, man.
Man, look, you know how it is. You know how Burrow does, man. You know how Burrow rolls, man. He's gonna be there at the end of the day, and you know, it's crazy that Miami's not in there. I think Miami, Miami, if they can catch fire, man, they'd be right up there in the top 5 anytime. So we'll see. But it's starting good, start season. I ain't mad at it. Detroit's kind of strong. It's like a shot of tequila, kind of strong, but I'll rock with it. Let's go. Go Detroit.
All right. So for my season-long bets, they have now been placed official. Shout out to FanDuel and Caesar. For the AFC North, I picked the Steelers over 8.5. That was a switch from Cleveland because another organization had Cleveland at 9.5, and I wasn't going to do that. AFC South, I got Jacksonville 10 wins, flat 10. I got the Jets over 9.5 for the AFC East. I got the Chargers. This is their time. Herbert got his money over 9.5. I have Green Bay over 7.5. Jordan Love can play, and they got to get 8 wins in that division. I do have Carolina over 7.5 for the NFC South. Brian, I took the Commanders and over 6.5. I like Sam Howell, damn it, and I'm going to go with him. And in the NFC West, Casey Gilmore talked me into Seattle over 8.5. So, Will, starting with you, other than your team, which teams have you intrigued this season and why?
It's got to be the Jets. It's got to be the Jets. Like they got so much riding on this. Like everyone's gonna see either fall or fly, you know. So we'll see, man. We'll see. That's the only team I'm pretty interested in. You know what I'm saying? We'll see. But
All
definitely.
right. Merv, it's on you. Which team has tickled your fancy and excited your soul with the Jermaine Jackson reset?
I would say I'm going to have to go with Buffalo because
Buffalo?
they've always been on the precipice, but then they've fallen short drastically towards the end of the season. I just want to see if they can actually put a season together where they're not throwing up all over themselves.
Might see it again.
Okay. All right. Ryan, what do you have, sir?
So I'm going to give you two for two different reasons. One is Pittsburgh. I think that they've never finished worse than 500 under Mike Tomlin, so I think it's a safe bet. And based on a spite pick last night, I need Kenny Pickett to do really well. So I'm interested in them. And then San Francisco, because I think Brock Purdy is not the guy. And I think that they are going to regret what the decisions that they made regarding Trey Lance. And so I'm interested to see whether I'm just completely off base and the latter half of last year wasn't in fact just lightning in a bottle with Purdy, and that he can come back and do something that no last draft pick in the history of at the NFL has ever done. And so it'll be interesting to watch that.
All right. So before we close the show, we want to talk about the merch we've got on sale. Buy a t-shirt or two if you go to ckasafeproject.itemorder.com. Our super producer Kelly will put that on the screen for the YouTube folks. Buy a shirt for CKA or the OCP. Take a picture, hashtag CKA family. A portion of the proceeds will go to get Finding the Balance books for deserving high school student athletes. And I do want to acknowledge something in the professional wrestling world before I close. Fans know I am an over 40-year fan of professional wrestling with my tag team partner, Coach Franchise is on the show. We always open with a random tag team. His son AJ is top dollar in the WWE, and we lost two of the finest that our business has to offer. Terry Funk passed away this past week, and it was expected that Terry was in ill health, and we kind of were prepped for that. However, day after the Funker died, we found out that Wyndham Rotunda, also known as Bray Wyatt, passed away suddenly, and I am saddened because that dude was entertaining, and he never got the full creative freedom that we all crave in everything we do. So I wanted to make sure I acknowledged it at the start of the week. I didn't want to do it every show because I feel a certain way about wrestling, and most people. Brian worked with me, for me, and now I'm working for him. And wrestling is all over the place in random references. And he actually used a wrestling word once in a real meeting. I'm still laughing at that because 5 people do what he was talking about. But I did want to say that. So our thoughts and prayers go out to the Rotunda family. So on behalf of my tag team partner and our cavalcade of stars, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast, and we will see you on the sidelines. Till next time, take care.
The Odd Coaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org. We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach Franchize. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches Podcast.